is the life.
Oh my goodness, Katt Williams just confirmed what a lot of people quietly suspected all along. According to him, 50 Cent removed 7 major names from the Netflix Diddy documentary. And these weren't side characters or background figures, these were high-level celebrities, people whose inclusion would have completely changed how the story landed. And the craziest part, Katt predicted this months ago. Before the documentary ever dropped, before the headlines exploded, he said certain people would never be mentioned. No matter how deep the scandal went, no matter how loud the accusations became, some names would stay protected. And now that the documentary is out, the silence around those names is impossible to ignore. Katt Williams has officially joined the Netflix Diddy documentary chaos, and he isn't holding back. He's openly calling out 50 Cent for what he frames as selective exposure, allowing certain figures to be scrutinized while deliberately shielding others. This wasn't subtle either. Katt made it clear that this wasn't accidental editing or coincidence. It was intentional. And if this feels familiar, that's because it is. When Katt went on Club Shay Shay and said, "All lies will be exposed," people treated it like bravado. But now it's clear he was talking about this exact situation. According to Katt, the people who react the strongest to the truth are usually the ones with the most to lose. Katt explained that these 7 individuals share something in common. They almost never do interviews, they avoid press, they never address rumors, and somehow, no matter how close they are to controversy, they always remain untouched. He said he wasn't talking about one person but 7, all benefiting from the same invisible protection. He also reminded everyone that this pattern isn't new. When he spoke on Michael Jackson years ago, he was punished. When he spoke on R. Kelly, he was punished again, not because he was lying, but because he broke an industry rule. According to Katt, Hollywood doesn't care about race, loyalty, or public morality. It cares about control, and anyone who disrupts that balance gets dealt with. That's why Katt made a point to say this isn't about obvious names that everyone already speculates about. This is about the ones who never get mentioned at all. The ones whose absence is louder than any accusation. To understand how this connects to Diddy, you have to go back to early 2024.
He just gave P. Diddy 4 years. Say that again. I tell you, 27 years. 4 years. Meanwhile, they tried to give me 4 years for 2 blunts I had no intention of smoking in the first place. Same 4 years. I don't give a fuck. Being an ass-picking devil worshiper is not against the law. They put that man on a whole RICO because they thought he was for China. They said, bring out the 9 cross. 9 niggas walked out there. That ain't even get the law. Go on and get you out. That man liked this so much as his punishment. They sent him to the place with the most. I ain't finna say shit.
On Club Shay Shay, Katt essentially predicted Diddy's downfall. He warned that Diddy's lifestyle, his parties, and his inability to hear no would eventually catch up with him. He said 2024 would be the year everything surfaced. At the time, it sounded extreme. Now, it sounds precise. Fast forward to the release of 50 Cent's Netflix documentary, Diddy: The Reckoning. The film includes never-before-seen footage from right before Diddy's arrest, strategy meetings with lawyers, behind-the-scenes moments, allegations far more serious than what had previously circulated. Diddy's legal team reportedly sent cease-and-desist letters to Netflix, calling the documentary unauthorized and defamatory. Netflix released it anyway. But even with all of that, Katt says the documentary still isn't complete. Diddy is now serving 4 years related to prostitution charges after avoiding broader RICO convictions, but prosecutors have made it clear the case isn't finished. There are over 150 lawsuits still pending, some involving minors. Federal investigators have openly stated that additional charges are possible. Even more telling, prosecutors connected to Diddy's case are reportedly communicating with investigators tied to the Tupac case. That detail alone suggests this goes far beyond one man. At the same time, there are growing claims that additional tapes exist, tapes allegedly showing other celebrities alongside Diddy. Katt didn't directly confirm the tapes, but he mocked the double standard openly. His point was blunt: some people receive years in prison for small offenses, while others walk free despite mountains of evidence, because the system decides who's disposable and who's protected. And that brings everything back to those 7 names. Katt isn't saying they're innocent, he's saying they were removed. And according to him, that removal tells you everything you need to know about how power actually works behind the scenes. That line right there stopped a lot of people in their tracks. When Katt joked about the punishment, it sounded wild on the surface, but the way he said it made it clear this wasn't just comedy. This was Katt doing what he's done his entire career, hiding a warning inside a joke. The implication was simple. He knows what happened, he knows who was involved, and more importantly, he knows exactly who didn't get touched. That's why when Katt started hinting that names were deliberately removed from the documentary, people leaned in, because Katt doesn't talk loosely. He's been consistent for years. He says the same thing, the same way, long before the headlines catch up. And according to him, the reason certain people never show up in documentaries like this has nothing to do with lack of evidence and everything to do with protection. So when the conversation shifts to the 7 names that allegedly got scrubbed, the first one people weren't expecting was Snoop Dogg. At first glance, that sounds impossible to a lot of fans. Snoop is a cultural icon. He's beloved, untouchable in the public eye, and positioned as one of hip-hop's safest legends. But if you look past the branding and nostalgia, the connection is there. Snoop and Diddy go back decades. Same industry circles, same parties, same business environments.
Everybody knew that Snoop Dogg, not again, mentioned him in December of 2020, but everybody beat the hell out of me. Screw you, that can't be true. What the hell do I know, right? And then recently it just came out again that Snoop Dogg got accused of trafficking children. And what did everybody do? Ooh, Snoop Dogg is at the halftime. I'm going to the halftime. But we canceled Dr. Seuss and Jemima. Nobody mad. Nobody. Super Bowl happens. They were dripping down from the letters, the LVI. I know, but that's fine. That's fine. Let's go to the game. Make some hot wings. It's fine. It'll pass. It'll pass, right? It's a phase. It's just a phase. Oh no! Tell somebody that plastic straws are coming back and throw a fit. Let a convict get arrested. Somebody put a knee on a convict's neck and it's over. The neck of it out. Crickets. Crickets. Nothing. Everything's fine.
Their paths overlapped constantly. So the question isn't whether Snoop was around. The question is why he wasn't mentioned at all. According to the narrative being pushed online, that silence isn't accidental, it's strategic. This is where Allie Carter enters the conversation. She's one of the people who has repeatedly claimed that Snoop's name should not be exempt from scrutiny. She says she brought his name up as far back as December 2020 and was immediately attacked for it. Not debated, not investigated, attacked. She describes being shouted down, labeled crazy, and told to shut up while the conversation moved on as if nothing happened. What makes this stand out isn't just the accusation itself, it's the response to it, or more accurately, the lack of one. Allie claims Snoop was accused of involvement in transporting minors for inappropriate purposes. That's not a small allegation. That's the kind of claim that should trigger investigations, headlines, and non-stop coverage. But according to her, none of that happened. No deep dives, no public outrage, no accountability cycle. Instead, Snoop's public image continued untouched. In fact, not long after those accusations resurfaced, Snoop appeared on one of the biggest stages imaginable, the Super Bowl halftime show. While other public figures have been dragged, canceled, or erased for far less, Snoop was celebrated in front of millions. Allie pointed out what she viewed as dark symbolism in that moment, saying it felt like people were too distracted by entertainment to care about the accusations hovering in the background. Whether someone believes that interpretation or not, the contrast is hard to ignore. Public outrage has been ruthless in other situations. Brands have been pulled.
I want to thank you. Come here. Don't sit on the bed at night. No homo. No, just don't get close to the bed. Don't get close, but it's just like, yo, we want to thank you for hosting the thing, man. It's been a pleasure. You didn't have to do it, and you did it.
No. I definitely didn't have to do it. I definitely didn't have to. First and foremost, I'm not getting in the bed. Shout out to him and what he did. I'm just gonna, if we can, let's just put the camera a little this way, just so we're not. I don't want my shot to even I don't want it to come close to the bed at all. I should look like he fresh off a goddamn plane. I should.
Fresh off the garden stage. That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and, pause, but like just back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes because he used to always get up early with me. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world. And
What the f did Puff just say? Nobody's gonna acknowledge this with me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes. And we're streaming live. That was stupid. Listen, that was fucking stupid. Listen,
we having a good time, yo. Your usher made it in the... Hey, yo.
I'm a thug. At the end of the day, I kill niggas, man. No, listen, at the end of the day, I kill niggas.
Books removed, characters erased, and careers ended over controversy. Yet here, nothing happened. No pause, no distancing, no accountability theater. just business as usual. That's why people believe Snoop never made it into the documentary, not because there was nothing to say, but because saying it would have consequences far beyond the film itself. According to this theory, Snoop isn't just connected, he's protected. Too many partnerships, too many corporate relationships, too many brand deals tied to his image. If 50 Cent had included Snoop in the documentary, the argument goes the film wouldn't have seen daylight. Distribution would have been stalled, legal pressure would have mounted, the project itself could have been buried. And that's the line Katt keeps pointing to. Some people are controversial, others are untouchable. In this framing, Diddy becomes expendable once his protection weakens. Snoop, on the other hand, remains insulated, not because he's proven innocent in the court of public scrutiny, but because the system has decided he's too valuable to disrupt. And that's the pattern Katt Williams keeps circling back to, not who's guilty, not who's innocent, but who gets removed from the story before the audience ever hears their name. Next up is Kevin Hart, and this one is complicated in a way that makes people uncomfortable. Kevin's situation stands out because he hasn't been silent about Diddy, but he's also never gone all the way in. He speaks just enough to acknowledge the chaos while carefully staying on the safe side of the line. That balance alone has made a lot of people raise their eyebrows. Kevin used to be around Diddy constantly during the early days, especially at what were known as puffy flavor camps. If you weren't around back then, those weren't just casual hangouts. They were high energy, high access environments where careers were being shaped, relationships were being formed, and boundaries were loose, to put it lightly. Kevin wasn't a background guest either. He was very much inside that circle.
For somebody to invite him in, hey, don't do it. Okay? We all saw the movie Sinners. Don't let his here. So he can bite somebody. So he can bite Playboy Cardi again, okay? Playboy Cardi definitely been bit. Something happened. Playboy Cardi's been bit. I know he has. Nobody let Kanye in. No. Tonight I will do my part. Everybody will get flowers. I'll do my part to make sure that I put us on a high pedestal, man. Also, I'm gonna do my part. I'm shutting down the idea of after parties. No after parties tonight, okay? None. Take your home after this. That's why I did it on a Monday. People gotta go to work tomorrow. No after parties. That's where it's slippery at them after parties. Okay? We're learning a lot about people, ain't we? We're learning a lot. God is good all the time. Kurt, that makes it right. Whatever I just said goes away. Funny. That's
benefiting from the exposure and the connections. That's why the old Frosted Flakes clip keeps resurfacing. At first glance, it looks like harmless joking, just typical Kevin Hart energy mixed with Diddy being Diddy, but if you actually watch it carefully, the tone shifts. Kevin goes out of his way to distance himself physically from the bed, repeatedly pointing it out, laughing nervously, over-explaining where he's standing and why. That kind of behavior doesn't usually come from nothing. It looks less like comedy and more like someone making sure there's no room for misinterpretation. What really made people pause was how Kevin reacted in real time, almost like he realized something was said out loud that wasn't supposed to be. There's a brief moment of discomfort, followed by jokes meant to smooth it over. That's the part people keep replaying, not because it proves anything, but because it feels like someone who knows the context is trying to redirect the moment before it goes somewhere dangerous. Fast forward to recently, and Kevin is hosting the BET Awards right in the middle of Diddy's public fallout. This is where his jokes start to sound less random and more intentional. Kevin makes repeated references to after parties, specifically saying they're shut down. He jokes about things getting slippery, about learning a lot about people, and then drops a line about God being good, almost like punctuation. On the surface, it's comedy. Underneath, it sounds like a warning disguised as humor. He even structured the event itself to avoid late-night chaos, scheduling it on a Monday so people would have obligations the next day. That's not how award shows usually operate. That decision alone suggests Kevin was very aware of optics, behavior, and what people might try to do once the camera stopped rolling. Then there's Orlando Brown, and yes, Orlando has a reputation for saying shocking things. A lot of what he says gets dismissed immediately, But the internet has a habit of re-examining statements once context changes. Orlando made an extreme claim involving Kevin that most people rejected outright. Whether anyone believes that specific allegation or not, it added fuel to an already uncomfortable conversation. Because once again, the theme wasn't proof, it was proximity. Kevin's name keeps appearing near stories about Hollywood's darker corners even if nothing ever sticks to him. What's hard to deny is this: Kevin knows too much.
No, this is freedom paper.
What's up, Mace?
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, baby. 4 o'clock, man.
Robin is back in the building. What up, Batman?
What up, what up, what up? What up, Mace? How you doing, boy?
Better than I look.
What's up, Mace? How you been, man?
I'm chilling, man. All my cards still work. Just the pup doing good stuff, you know?
Yeah, every once in a while you got to do something good.
He was there during the early years, he saw how things worked, he understands the unspoken rules of the industry better than most, and now he's far too valuable to be sacrificed. Kevin Hart isn't just a comedian anymore, he's a brand, a studio partner, a box office guarantee. Taking him down wouldn't just hurt one person, it would shake the entire comedy ecosystem. That's why many people believe Kevin was deliberately kept out of the documentary. Not because he's innocent of everything people speculate about, but because pulling on that thread would unravel too much. Protecting Kevin means protecting the machine that benefits from him. And 50 Cent, as controversial as he is, knows exactly where the real landmines are. That brings us to Mace, and this one might be the most frustrating of all. Mace wasn't just adjacent to Diddy, he was central. During the Bad Boy era, Mace was everywhere. The music, the money, the meetings, the parties. If anyone had first-hand knowledge of how things really operated behind the scenes, it would be him. He watched the empire get built from the inside, and yet Mace is almost completely silent. It took him 10 years to get out of his contract with Diddy. 10 years of legal battles, stalled momentum, and career limbo. Most people would come out of that experience angry, vocal, ready to expose everything. But Mace didn't. Even after finally gaining freedom, he rarely speaks negatively about Diddy at all. No long interviews, no explosive tell-alls, just distance and quiet. That silence is what bothers people, not accusations, not rumors, silence. Because in this industry, silence can mean a lot of things. It can mean fear, it can mean loyalty, it can mean legal restraint, or it can mean someone knows exactly how dangerous it is to say the wrong thing out loud. Mace's restraint feels calculated, like someone who understands the full weight of what could happen if he ever decided to speak freely. And when you line Kevin Hart and Mace up side by side, the pattern becomes clearer. These aren't outsiders guessing, these are insiders who survived. One by becoming too powerful to touch, the other by disappearing just enough to stay safe. That's why their absence from the documentary matters. Not because it clears them, but because it shows where the real boundaries are.
Mill came out saying that he'll pay somebody $100,000 to investigate that he has nothing to do with anything with Diddy.
You can't take back what your butthole received.
The story we're being shown has edges, and certain names sit just beyond them, protected by influence, silence, or both. There's an old interview from V103 that keeps resurfacing, and the more people rewatch it, the stranger it feels. Diddy brought Mace into the radio station, made a whole spectacle out of it, and treated it like a victory lap. On the surface, it was framed as a feel-good moment, Diddy announcing freedom, Mace smiling, applause. But the energy in that room told a completely different story. Diddy goes on air and proudly says that Mace is finally free to work, free to move, free to do whatever he wants. That sentence alone should make you pause. Why does another grown man need permission to be free in the first place? And why is that announcement being made publicly like a king granting mercy? Then you look at Mace's reaction. He doesn't look relieved. He doesn't look confident. He looks shocked, nervous, almost overwhelmed. He keeps thanking Puff over and over, acting overly grateful like someone who just escaped something but isn't sure it's really over. He literally says, "It took me 10 years to get this paperwork right here."
Real rap.
You think that audio that they put out was real?
Yeah, that was Nicki put that out there. That Nicki recorded that at the freak off in the Calabasas. She been waiting to drop that shit on Meek. She She just wasn't gonna tell nobody it was Diddy. But now that Diddy out there, why not?
10 years, a full decade, just to reclaim what was already his. He even jokes, "I ain't used to Puff doing good stuff," and everyone laughs. But that joke says way more than it should. Think about that for a second. A man who worked closely with Diddy for decades was genuinely surprised that Diddy did something fair. That's not comedy, that's trauma slipping out in real time. The body language matters too. Mace looks like someone who knows he's still being watched, like someone who knows freedom can be taken back at any moment. And that's exactly why his silence today feels so loud. He knows everything, the business, the parties, the pressure, the leverage, and yet he says almost nothing. That's why 50 Cent left Mace out of the documentary. Not because Mace is irrelevant, but because including him would force the audience to ask uncomfortable questions. Why doesn't he speak? What does Diddy still have on him? Is it fear, loyalty, legal control, or something worse? Leaving Mace out avoids all of that. It keeps the spotlight off a man who clearly knows too much. Now we have to talk about Meek Mill, and this is where things get messy fast. Meek has been orbiting Diddy and the industry elite for years. His name has floated around rumors for a long time, but nothing ever stuck publicly. Then Orlando Brown said what he said. And yes, Orlando sounds unhinged sometimes, but history has shown that he occasionally drops information that turns out to be disturbingly accurate later on. His comment was crude, shocking, and impossible to ignore. Meek immediately responded by saying he'd pay $100,000 to anyone who could prove he had any involvement with Diddy. That alone tells you how seriously he took it. People don't throw out numbers like that unless they feel real pressure. Then things escalated. An audio clip allegedly featuring Meek Mill surfaced online, and people began claiming the other voice belonged to Diddy. The clip spread like wildfire before it was mysteriously scrubbed from the internet. Gone. Almost impossible to find now. Jaguar Wright, who has been exposing industry secrets for years, publicly stated she believed the voice was Diddy's. Whether that's true or not, the damage was already done. The conversation had started, but here's the problem. The audio was never officially verified. No forensic confirmation, no legal authentication. And that's exactly why 50 Cent removed Meek from the documentary. Including him would have opened Netflix up to massive lawsuits. Meek is still active, powerful, connected, and lawyered up. One unverified clip could have killed the entire project, so 50 made the smart move. He avoided a legal war he couldn't win. Then there's Justin Bieber, and this one hits differently. Justin isn't being discussed as a perpetrator. He's widely viewed as a victim. He was a kid when he was pulled into Diddy's world. There are old clips of Diddy joking about having custody of Justin for 48 hours, and watching those videos now feels unsettling. Young Justin looks uncomfortable, unsure, and way too young to be in that environment. When paparazzi recently
Y'all, paparazzi spoke to Bieber, and all he had to say recently was that, "Don't ask me about that man ever. Some things I moved on from for my own peace." What's in that documentary? Let's just say people are finally waking up. He also goes on to say, "I was a kid, I didn't know anything, I don't ever want to talk about that again."
Asked Justin about the documentary, his response was heartbreaking. He shut it down immediately. He said, "It don't ask me about that man ever. Some things I moved on from for my own peace." Then he added, "I was a kid, I didn't know anything, I don't ever want to talk about that again." That's not deflection, that's pain. Including Justin in the documentary would have meant reopening childhood trauma for public consumption, and 50 Cent chose not to do that. Leaving Justin out wasn't about protection for Diddy, it was about protecting someone who never had a choice in the first place. The same logic applies to Usher. Usher was the first. Before Justin, before anyone else, Usher lived with Diddy as a teenager at what they call Puff Flavor Camp. He's openly said he saw things he couldn't unsee. He's hinted at experiences that changed him permanently. And later he's the one who introduced Justin to Diddy, a decision that likely haunts him to this day. People close to the production have claimed the Usher segment was simply too dark to include, too disturbing, even for a documentary about Diddy's crimes. Usher is like an R&B legend now. A father, a brand, dragging him back into that world would have destroyed him all over again. And now we reach the most important name on this entire list, Clive Davis. Most people don't understand this part. Clive Davis isn't just another executive, he's the architect, the man above Diddy, the true gatekeeper of the music industry. Diddy didn't move without Clive's blessing, didn't rise without his approval. Clive has controlled careers for over 50 years. Whitney Houston, Alicia Keys, countless others. He knows everyone. He's connected to labels, platforms, media companies, and executives across the globe. Katt Williams said it best. Diddy was just a worker. Who's the boss? Like, the answer has always been Clive Davis. So why was Clive removed from the documentary? Because if Clive is exposed, the documentary never airs. Netflix wouldn't touch it. Distributors would walk. Promotion would vanish. The project would be buried before it ever reached your screen. 50 Cent knew that. And he made a calculated decision. Leave Clive out or let the entire documentary die. That omission tells you everything you need to know about how power really works. So there you have it. The 7 names removed from the Netflix Diddy documentary, from Mace's silence to Meek's legal risk to protecting victims like Justin and Usher, all the way up to Clive Davis, the man no one dares to challenge. Katt Williams warned us. He said all lies would be exposed, but he also knew the biggest names would stay hidden. The system protects its own, always has, always will. This documentary is only the beginning. The investigations aren't over, the lawsuits keep coming, and the truth is still leaking out piece by piece. Now, I want to hear from you. Which name do you think should have been included? Do you think 50 Cent made the right call protecting certain people? Or should everything have been exposed no matter the consequences? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you're seeing the pattern. Subscribe if you want the next chapter because this story is far from finished.